I didn't see you there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Romance with Diane. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined so far. We'll give it another second to load. I almost accidentally closed the live window. It's fine. I know how things work. It has been a quarantine day. I am pretty sure that I am wearing my fake eyelashes backwards, like 90% sure, and I figured it out when I put the first one on, and I was too lazy to like take it off and redo it, so that's just where we are now with everything. So that's a good time. Yeah, so this week we are going to be talking about Jane Seymour's book. Did you know she had a book? I did not. I actually found out because of Sea of Shoes on Instagram, who I've been following for like 10 years, and it's probably one of the first times, maybe only times, I've ever been influenced to buy something. Jane Aldridge of Sea of Shoes posted about Jane Seymour's Guide to Romantic Living. There you go, now you can see it. She's got a swan on the cover and a fucking dress. So she posted about the book, and I thought, oh my god, I need to own this. I can't believe I didn't know it was a thing. This is totally on brand for me. I need to have it on my coffee table, because I'm not even gonna lie, I buy books for my coffee table to flex, so that when I'm eventually on like apartment therapy or somebody's interviewing me, I like to make it easy for them to like make little comments about how awesome I am. So I always try to get like really aesthetic coffee table books, which I think is why a lot of people have coffee table books, and I'm just honest enough to tell you that that's why I have them, purely so I can flex and be like, oh, you don't have this obscure 80s books? I am not sponsored by Truly Hard Seltzer Mango, but I'm gonna drink one with a reusable straw because I care, and because I'm afraid of my lips touching any can now because of COVID-19. And I love, I think canned beverages are the superior beverage. Like if you agree that canned is the superior way to have like soda or a seltzer, because I definitely think it is. Anyway, so I saw this book on Instagram. I had to buy it. It did not fucking disappoint. It is a book. And like I said, I really want to be on apartment therapy or like one of those style blogs, because my studio apartment has a bunch of really, my friend Heather once said, your apartment's very curated, and I take that as a compliment because I fucking try. It's not easy to make a commitment to an aesthetic, right? So I definitely have a commitment to an aesthetic and to making my whole world look like how my brain looks. I think it's important. It's fun. Like, life sucks a lot of the time, and if you can have your stuff reflect the world you want, I think you have a better world. So anyway, I want to be on apartment therapy, assuming I get to return to my apartment anytime in the near future. I've been staying with Brian pretty much all of quarantine, and I love him. It's been great. He has a balcony and 2 bedrooms, which is huge. I live in a studio. It's very small, but amazingly decorated. But the thing is, I really miss my stuff. But more than my stuff, I miss thrifting. I am so desperate to look at somebody else's crap that I have actually organized several of Brian's bins. I did his bathroom and I did the patio outside, because I am so desperate to look at old stuff. I will even look at his stuff. That's how much I really miss thrifting. Tell me if you miss thrifting, because I really, really miss thrifting. Thrifting is so important. I love doing it. That's not why we're here. We will do another series about thrifting, because I have so much. I am truly at my best in a thrift store. It's like when I'm the most happy, when I'm the most confident, when I'm the most like receptive to humanity. Like, people always ask me if something looks good or what they should buy, or like for tips, because I have, you know, when you like are having a really good day and people talk to you way more, and then you're like, man, this is why I don't have good days, because people fucking talk to you. But like in a thrift store, anything you want, I fucking know. I will tell you. I love it. So anyway, I miss thrifting. Tell me if you miss thrifting too. So anyway, let's get into Jane Seymour's Guide to Romantic Living, For those of you who missed the cover, this is what it looks like. Pardon me while I look at the camera so I can make sure that the light is showing you. We have similar hair right now. I like these videos because it's like a series of my curly hair transformation as I try to make it work. Like every week, you're like, what is wrong with her hair? It looks better. It looks worse. She looks like Dee Snider. This week she looks like season 1 Carrie, Sex in the City. What the fuck is happening? I don't know either, but prayers for my hair. So the description of this book is, learn how simple little touches can transform a hotel room, your bedroom, and even your bath. Instead of an expensive dinner out, try an impromptu picnic. Or whisk your husband or wife off for a surprise getaway weekend. Loaded with suggestions, tips, and lavish illustrations, Jane Seymour's Guide to Romantic Living is an indispensable book for everyone who wants to add sparkle and romance to his or her life. I have a lot to say about that. Is it indispensable? But I love everything about how prior to the pandemic, rich people love acting like living simply is this luxury thing that you can do for fun sometimes rather than the way that regular people fucking live every day. And for me right now, I don't know that it's really Guide to Romantic Living. I feel like it's more Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Like I spend a lot of time waiting for things to come in the mail and like being excited about getting to eat a green apple every day at lunch. Like I literally told Brian on Monday when we went to Trader Joe's, because we're very white, make sure you get green apples because I love having a green apple for my lunch, which is the most Victorian-ass sentence I have ever uttered in my life. And I've uttered a lot of Victorian sentences, but that's probably the biggest one. It's very like, mother wants us to make sure that we have a green apple every day at tea. It's such a treat. That's where we are. Hi to everybody who's just joined. Welcome. Thank you for supporting my desperate plea for attention. It's very important to me. So the first thing that I noticed when I opened up this book is that there's a recommendation from another famous person in the right on the jacket. I know what things are called. And guess who the famous person is who is recommending this book, because I bet it's not who you think. It is, wait for it, fucking wait for it, Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck recommends this book, and here's what he has to say. Since I've always equated Jane Seymour with romance, it seems to me she's the perfect person to write a book on this subject. Tom Selleck. Imagine me with a mustache. I don't have one, but like, actually, lie. I had a mustache the other, up until Monday night when I had to remove it all by myself. And let me tell you, it was not great. I feel like I'm reverse Mia Thermopolising from Princess Diaries. Like, I went from having no mustache and contacts and straight hair to now I've got curly hair. I am on my last pair of contacts and my eye doctor is closed till further notice and I can't get a new prescription. And I had my mustache up until Monday. So it's like a reverse makeover happening. But Megan says, of course, it's Tom Selleck. That's solid. I before we go on, have to take a detour like we haven't already. To talk about how great the movie that she's in with Tom Selleck is. It's called Lassiter, and I don't know if anyone else has ever seen it. I had not seen it or even heard of it, and it, as a lot of other movies, I found out about it by looking at one of the Instagram accounts that I follow. Oh, I sound like an influencer right now. Looking at Instagram, I follow for pulp illustration because I love all of that style of art. And if you've been to my apartment, that's what most of my art is like the old detective covers, like the Robert McGinnis covers, and he did all the illustrations for the Bond posters. But they had an illustration for this movie, Lassiter, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I am fucking in. Because, so remember, Tom Selleck was almost Indiana Jones, and it didn't happen. And it went to my boyfriend, my lover. Please let him never die, even though, oh God, I'm worried. Harrison Ford. But Tom Selleck, because he didn't get the Indiana Jones role, he is in a bunch of movies that are like adventure ripoffs. And I didn't know this because I'm kind of young for all the shit I like. So I discovered this and I've been slowly watching them. And Lasseter is fucking great. He is a jewel thief, like doing one last, run for the government for like a diamond, some sort of Nazi diamond situation. It's like London in the 30s. Jane Seymour is his wife. And they have one of these relationships where, and I'm not like a huge advocate of like open relationships and polyamory for, myself, but like if it works for you, that's great, do you. And this is one of these movies where I'm just like, why don't you guys just have an open relationship? Because it seems like y'all just get another boyfriend. Like, it would solve a lot of your problems. You seem down. Like, I know it's the 30s, but people did it. They clearly just need to accept that they're going to fuck other people, but they're still in love. Like, it's that type of relationship. It's very, this is my boyfriend Derek and Derek's boyfriend Ben from Parks and Rec reference. Anyway, Lasseter is awesome. He's like a total skeezy, like 30s adventure spy situation. And Jane, I think, is like an actress or something, and she's his wife, and they're like super in love but hate each other. And Lauren Hutton is in it, and she's like the very cliche kind of Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS, like older, scary Nazi lady that's like into S&M. And if you know anything about pulp novels, you know this is like a huge thing that is pretty common in them. Like, they love this as a fetish. Even like Austin Powers toys with that a little bit. Like, it's very widespread. A lot of the Bond movies have kind of similar stuff. Anyway, Lasseter is awesome. Somebody else watch it. I'm gonna make Brian watch it. I know he's not in here right now, but I know that once he hears this, he's gonna be like, oh no, please God, not more of these mediocre 80s movies that are just about your aesthetic. But anyway, Tom Selleck is the person that recommends this book. And he recommended it like Ron Swanson recommends, like how Ron Swanson does speeches, where he just like states factual things. Like, Leslie Knope is a person. She is a woman. She works in government. Thank you. Like, it's very like, Jane is a person who is hot and likes romance. Bye. So, anyway, let's get into the first excerpt. But before we do that, I feel like everything about this book is a total humble brag, which I feel people probably knew that already, but it was more of a humble brag even than I was expecting. And again, for the references, it's very Jenna Maroney from 30 Rock. It's very like, sometimes I sing too beautifully, like, oh, my life is so hard because I'm so beautiful and perfect. Megan says Harrison Ford, mediocre pilot. I mean, fair. Number one in my heart, though, always. It's how I knew I was a heterosexual. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, I'm so into this, help. But anyway, I titled this episode Living Romantically a Normal Life, which is a 30 Rock reference to Jenna saying that Tony should add a category for living theatrically a normal life, because that is totally everything about this book. Also, I just have to show you one more picture, if I can get it to show, of Jane with a swan. And this is very, everyone, it's casual, me, shows up like this. And this is the foreword. One day, standing in the shower, newly pregnant with my second baby and just finished with my latest film, I wondered, now what? I felt very content and excited about the coming months, but also felt I had something I wanted to do or say during this time that would express why, despite the normal dissatisfactions with everyday life, I am basically happy. I've never been a writer. Indeed, it's the last talent I could ever claim for myself. But I wanted to share the passion I feel for life that makes it that much more special. I know, and have always known, that I am a very privileged person. We know, Jane. We know. Everybody knows. Not because of wealth or fame or power, or the usual things that one thinks of as belonging to privilege. I'm going to just try to find an accent that works for me, so please bear with me as I experiment. But because I have a deep sense of optimism, I would too if I looked like that. Another 30 Rock line. If I had those knockers, I'd be thanking God too. A sense of daring, an ability to make life better or more special, a belief that one can fulfill one's dreams, large or small. I've always taken the risk, never given up, even when everything appeared to be catastrophic. I felt it was possible to turn one's dream, one's fantasies into reality. I have been poor at times, bitch, me too, and privileged at others. Yeah, I'm white. But always, when I watched people around me, people of all nationalities and walks of life, I realized that we all share life itself, and that is the fulfillment of the romantic dream, or the creation of a special moment that one never forgets, not the material rewards. Girl with like 1,000 R's. So much. It's so much. Jane, it's so much. Jane. Just Jane. So, chapter 2 is called Finding Your Romantic Self. This book is like a maybe 2-paragraph thesis that she stretches into how many pages? 211. Like, as a consummate filler of pages, I know what that fucking looks like, and Jane, you're doing it. You said it, then you said it again. You said it a little different. You said it while you're in a prom dress with a swan. You said it while you're on a horse. You said it while you're being chased by a goose that looks like the Untitled Goose Game goose. I don't know why. We'll get to that. It's fucking incredible. So here's what Jane has to say about finding your romantic self. We are all too used to being passive. We accept too much. We look to movies and television for the excitement and drama in our lives. I'm in this photo and I don't like it. Take your life in hand and be your own heroine. Become Scarlett O'Hara. A successful woman too, remember? That is true. Be the mysterious heroine of contemporary romance novels. Don't stride around in identical business clothes like all the other women. Be yourself. Don't try to be a man. Don't accept. Create. Your image of yourself can encompass many different people. I can be a wild, sexy creature, but I'm also the Victorian lady who can sit and do needlepoint for hours on end, covered in lace, with my feet on a little cushion. Drink. There's no drinking game for this, but I'm just drink. I can also be the 80s woman who loves to work out in a gym and lifts weights and sweat and feel the muscles burn. We don't share that, Jane. I fucking hate working out. I am a lot of different women in one. I think everyone is. Use your imagination. Be the person you want to be. Be all the different women you think you are. Make life what you want it to be. As soon as I become really rich and hot, I will get right on that, Jane. Get on it. I'm going to try to show a couple pictures, even though I realize that the light is not great. But there's Jane in feathers. Here's my unmanicured hands. And Jane up top doing the this is 1986, by the way. This book is 1986. She's doing the class of 86 pose with the rose, like the hot rich girl one who got her photos taken at a different studio than everybody else. Small town things. And here's how Jane defines romance. Or how people in her life define romance. For one of my friends, romance is the day her husband hired the London Philharmonic to play outside her window for her birthday. That is a relatable story. For another, it's the day her lover brought her a bunch of violets when she was ill. That's some Victorian shit, and honestly, I'd be into it, so I'm not hating. The point is that it's something that makes life different, that shows care and tenderness, and a sense that each day is not laid out on a plate. Anything can happen. We make the days, and we can make them good for ourselves and for others. Megan says romance for her is when he loads the dishwasher. That's true. Yeah, chores are super important when you live together. They are definitely romance. Oh, Jane. I also had some questions that I would love to hear from you guys on if you're just joining us. Let me get to them in my document. So today we're talking about guides, obviously, and I want to know if you ever wrote a guide and what was it for? Not like a work document or any bullshit like that, like a weird one. Tell me about it. Somebody did, and I want to know. And I also want to know, how are you living romantically during quarantine? You gotta romantically, you gotta bosom heave. There we go. Bosom heave appropriately when you say living romantically, right? And I also want to know what's in your emergency kit, because we'll get to what's in Jane's emergency kit, and it's weird. So this is from chapter 3, Bringing Romance to Everyday Life. It is easy to become so weighed down by work and worry that you cease to notice the marvels all around you. Some years ago, I was playing Ophelia up in the north of England, relatable, and staying in awful digs miles away from any friends or family. It's called being in your 20s, Jane. I was very depressed. We all are. Very hemmed in by the bad weather and gloomy city. Then, someone suggested that a group of us go for a drive. We piled into a car, and it wasn't long before we found ourselves on the most beautiful moors, covered with mist like a scene from Macbeth. We were 10 feet apart, #social distancing, and yet we couldn't see each other. We kept appearing and disappearing through the mist. The atmosphere was very strange, very romantic, very beautiful. And those moors, the Yorkshire moors, had been there all the time, just a short distance away from the town we were complaining about so much. Oh, Jane. I mean, let me be real clear, though. If I went to the moors, I would shit my pants because it's in every book that I love, starting with The Secret Garden, which I know I've talked about before. Thumbs up if you like The Secret Garden and it was your introduction to all things like goth and hidden children and secret passages and doorways hidden behind tapestries, and we don't talk about that, not since Mother, because that was my my introduction to all that, and I still have my copy of the book because it's beautiful. Here's Jane on a horse. Why? Don't ask questions. This is from which chapter? Thinking Romantically, chapter 4. And this is where she talks about her mindset. It's very Goop before Goop. Like, a lot of stuff about this is Gwyneth adjacent. Like, you can see how we got here. With my husband's help, I run our Tudor house in England, our modern house in Los Angeles, and the one we rent in Santa Barbara. Inevitably, we have occasional problems with the staff. The manager of our house in England some time ago suddenly quit and sold a hurtful, manufactured story to a newspaper. Hurtful stories often turn up in the papers and on film sets. I have only to look at another man, and an invented romance gets reported back to David. Of course, this kind of thing is hard to cope with. Is it, Jane? Is it? Because I wouldn't know. I mean, that's actually not true. Because I'm a little bit famous. Like a little. I'm not famous. I'm just desperate. Force yourself to ignore it, then it doesn't hurt you. As far as you're concerned, it needn't have happened. When the stories are untrue and damage your reputation, of course, you have to try to stop them from happening again. But I try to never lose sleep over the malice of others. Why bother? There really is no point. Nothing to be gained. Sometimes I do get upset about my faults. I dislike the way I speak before I think. I'm always saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. If David, that's her husband number 3, she admits it, respect. If David tells me not to talk about a particular subject, for instance, I always talk about it. If I'm with a homosexual actor, I'll find myself talking about AIDS. I need to drink. I need to drink, and I need to drink some more. Jane, why would you say that? Why would you mention that? Oh, does she want to be relatable? I don't understand. I don't. Oh, like this isn't part of it, but I can't, I didn't tell Brian I was going to show pictures, so I hope he's not mad that I'm like doing this. Here's some pictures of her in different movies. Lassiter is right there at the top, and then here she is down here as Hillary in Crossings. And Crossings, I wrote about it in, I don't know if you guys know this, in one of my many efforts to try and get attention. I have a newsletter, or I did, and I reviewed Crossings as part of my section on 80s romance novels. And Crossings is fucking incredible. Hillary is an amazing villain. She is a total bad bitch. She is exactly who I would play, like in Barbies with my sister. Because it's not that fun to be the heroine. It's fun to be the villain. I want to be the sexy brunette one that comes in, ruins lives, takes your man, takes your fortune, maybe falls off a cliff later, but like, that's what's fun. And Hillary is the definition of that type of character. Just waltz in beautiful, ruin lives. What heroine? No one remembers her. I'm amazing. Like, it's very pre-reality TV, like Tiffany Pollard or Jade from Top Model. Like that vibe of just like, come in, ruin lives, get out. Like the campy shit that drag queens and people like me live for. So in case you were wondering, here is what is in Jane's emergency kit. I actually believe in an emergency kit. Candles, a bottle of fizzy wine or champagne, and some lumpfish roe or caviar should always be kept available to make an occasion of an ordinary day. For that is what romance is. It's making occasions out of every ordinary day of your life, turning each one into something special. Drink. So I'm actually going to stop there with the Jane excerpts, but there's so many more. There's literally so many more. And it's all, like I said, like it's one paragraph of content into 200 pages of book, which is mostly an excuse for her to dress up next to a swan, which I'm not mad at, because like I would do this too. And everything I'm roasting her for, like you guys know, I'm like this. I would do this if the opportunity presented itself. Like no shade. I know what I'm like. I'm like this. So I'd like to segue now into the absolute, the embarrassing part of the show where I show something that I wrote. And what I wrote this time was my own guide. Because I always do stuff like this. I'm always interested in like the sociological, like seeing how subcultures become their own thing, seeing like what makes someone cool or beautiful in your culture, like what trends are happening. Like I'm a big pop culture person, but I'm just a creepy observer, and I'm always interested in like the human condition and trends that are happening, and like, are these people happier than me? Are we really different? Are we actually more alike? Like, I'm obsessed with all of that. I always have been. I have, as I've said before, that like obnoxious, astrology, like Aquarius tendency of like, I'm different, I'm special, no one gets me, it's so hard to be me. Can you believe that no one understands me? I'm a tortured artist. Like, that's always been a part of who I am. Even though people are like, come to our party, we like you. I'm like, no one gets me, I'm a loner. Like, bitch, go to the party. So I'm trying, but like, it's just an intrinsic part of who I am. It always has been. And so what I wrote is something called A Guide to Populars. And here it is, and I'm gonna read it for you. And it is, like not a lot makes me cringe because I'm so used to embarrassing myself for like public recognition, but this one is bad. I made this around 6th grade, I guess, as a guide to identify popular girls. This is a thing that I did. Again, I was obsessed with the idea of popularity, even though I knew I could never achieve it because I didn't have like the financial means or like the right look. Like I always knew I could never do it. So I was like obsessed with learning how people did it, if it could actually be something that you could achieve, or if like you're just born with it So yeah, here is a guide to populars, and this is probably 1998, 1997, around then. A Guide to Populars by Diane Ivy. Section 1, How to Identify a Popular Girl. Clothes. The usual popular wears bell-bottoms, one pair that are jeans, another that are khaki or olive green, and a black stretch pair. Remember when bell-bottoms first came back into fashion, and like, you know, if you were financially not loaded, you would have to like convince your parents to buy you new clothes when it wasn't the first day of school or like the change of the season. So everybody would get the black stretch bell-bottoms because they were the cheapest bell-bottoms, like the cheapest first version of that pant. And I remember wearing mine to death. Their clothes, I misspelled there. Whew. Their clothes are almost always Abercrombie and Fitch, Adidas, Limited Too, or Gap. And then in the margin, I added Tommy Hilfiger and American Eagle. Dropping the 2000s brands up in there. Those are some 2000s brands. American Eagle, Abercrombie, Adidas, Limited Too, Tommy Hilfiger. The hair is worn in a ponytail, mostly with athletic populars. But hair is sometimes curled or just hanging with snob populars. That's a cute name for people. Snob populars. Usually has pierced ears. Gestures. The laughter is medium sound level with much ha-haing. The raised eyebrow is a very common thing among populars. It usually means you're weird. The hair twist is also common when bored or confused. Only snob populars paint their nails. They usually only wear subtle shades. And then the last section is fact or myth. 1, being popular can be hereditary. Do you think that's a fact or a myth? It is a fact. Populars usually likely have popular siblings. 2, most populars are blondes. I misspelled some words again. 10% are blonde, most are light brunette. 3, books like How to Be Popular in the 6th Grade are trash. 3, fact, duh. I love using the word trash even then. Brian says snobulars. That's pretty good. I didn't have you to think of that for me then, but if I did, would have used it. And here is an illustration that I did of the athletic popular where you can see some brand names going on. We've got some Tommy Hilfiger, some Adidas. Again, the ponytail, the hair hanging low, the like bob haircut that I also had in this era. Of course, the Adidas and the platform shoes and the bell bottoms. And I drew so many people that looked like this. And like it was weird because in a lot of ways, I was obsessed with it, but in a way that I disguised it with snark. So like somehow that's better. It's kind of like how in college, I was so obsessed with making fun of Twilight that I might as well have been a fan. Like I saw the movie twice in 2 days when it came out. Like that, I always have that thing where I have to like try to act like I'm not about it even though I'm interested in it. I can never just be like, oh yeah, that's a thing. People wear Abercrombie. I have to be like, look at this bitch wearing Abercrombie. What a basic bitch wearing Abercrombie. Look at this other thing over here. Like it's very much that, I don't know. I'm snarkier about it than I really need to be. And I wish I wasn't like that. And I'm trying. It's hard. Yeah. But one more time for those who are just joining us, this is the Guide to Populars. And I drew some illustrations of what I thought the girls looked like. And yeah, that is a real thing that I did. A real thing that I did. Brian's making me move over. Did you ever do anything like this? Because I want to know if it's just me. It's probably just me. Probably. Did you ever write a guide of any sort? I also wrote one, I remember, about, well, I wrote several about adventure, because of course I did. I wrote one about like adventure heroines, like the adventure girl, like what those women dress and wear and look like. I think some of it too came from the early editions of like online magazines for stuff like 17 and like girl.com, GURL, and even like the Delia's catalog, and just all those ways in which people were like telling you how to be, which I mean has gone on way, way, way before the internet. I mean, since always. If you look at teen magazines in the 50s, it's the same shit. But like, it's very interesting to see how much of it is sort of aped from that teen magazine type of culture. I'm using like those advertising phrases, things like subtle shades, some are blonde, 10% are brunette, like that kind of speak that people don't really use that's like purely for advertising. Stuff like Maxinista, anything Ista, Maven, Chanteuse, like those words that are almost for print journalism and nothing else. Graylin says that I was snarky before it was before the internet. Thank you. I tried. Omar says Megan's name was just a girl, GRRL on ICQ. Yep. Oh yeah, we should do a screen names one. My first screen name was Blue Rose 782, because 287 was taken on AOL, and which is 287 is my birthday, February 1987. So I had to do 782, but it actually gave me a leg up, Mom and Dad, because that meant I could pretend to be older on the internet, which I used to submit fan fiction to sites that said they were 18 plus. I'm such a bad girl. I don't know how. How did I manage? The joke is like I had so much free time to like do whatever, and I did nothing. I was very unsupervised sometimes because my parents knew that I wasn't going to do anything. They're like, we're leaving you at home. Have fun eating popcorn, ice cream, and watching HGTV. Because 90s HGTV was my jam. What was that show? The show with the gay decorator, who was like the first gay person I ever saw on television. Christopher Lowell. Does anybody remember Christopher Lowell? He had like a home decorating show. I think he had puppets on it even. I remember my sister commenting, I knew he was gay before I knew what gay was. He was an icon and a you know, a trailblazer. Respect Christopher Lowell. Respect, no hate. Is that really his name? Am I saying the wrong name? Hang on. That'd be really embarrassing and also typical. Nope, I'm correct. Google him, it's real. So anybody have any questions, anything about guides, anything about how to become popular? Do you want like my advice on how to be popular? Because I'll totally tell you, I definitely know everything, but only ironically because I'm not interested in stuff that people like. Or tell me your screen name. What was your screen name? Love a good screen name story. I was Blue Rose 782, and then I was, or no, before that I was DLIV13, which my dad created. Thanks, Dad. That one was not too imaginative. And then after that, I think I was Blue Rose for a really, really long time, and then I was Ancient Gold 87. Oh, why am I like this? Ancient Gold 87. Because adventure, and I think I've said this before, I was on teenopendiary.com back in the day, if anybody else was on Open Diary. And I was on Open Diary and my name was Indies Girl, but don't worry, there was some even better embarrassing shit in the middle of it. It was tilde, star, tilde, Indies, the hell are they called? Underscore, girl, GURL, tilde, star, tilde. And that was my username. And I'm so sad that I didn't save that diary because it was so funny and it was all adventure. It wasn't really like, I didn't save it because it wasn't that angsty or like really that interesting. It was very like, I like adventure. I had fun with my friends. Today we went to Borders and rode the elevator all by ourselves. Remember when like you're so excited to just be anywhere by yourself? Like we went to Borders all alone. Her mom picked us up later and we had milkshakes at Potbelly, and then we read our science fiction books. Like it's very just kind of fangirly, and it was like a happy time, which if you ever like have listened to Mortified, the podcast, or this show, they talk about how like they mostly feature, you know, people's sad, angsty diaries, because when you're happy, you're not really writing, or if you are, it's not that interesting. So I don't have that diary anymore, the Indies Girl one, but I have plenty of other stuff, as you guys know. All right, well, I'm actually going to wrap it up unless there's any other urgent questions, urgent comments. Thank you so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you again to Brian for setting all of this up. He does an amazing job, and make sure you thank him too and tell him that you like the show also. We are on YouTube, so you can follow on YouTube, and please give the page a like if you have not already. I would really appreciate it. It's Romance with Diane. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. I think we're going to talk about Vikings, but I need to check the books I have because I'm not 100% sure if I have enough Viking books or just a book with Fabio on the cover wearing the chainmail vest. I'm not sure. All right. On that note, we will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye.